It's estimated that almost 2% of the population is HIV positive, with half of those infected not knowing that they are. Stacy contracted HIV when she was still a teenager. She says because of financial difficulties, she ended up living with a man who was financing her education.
He was always being there for me. I grew up without a mother and a father, so he was like a father figure because he was older than I am. He was about 4 years older than I am. So we were friends until my 18th birthday. He invited me out. That was my first time I had sex. Well, he didn't tell me that he was positive.
She didn't find out that she was infected until 8 years later.
I got sick. I realized that I was pregnant with my third child. I started to bleed, and his father rushed me to the Spanish Town Hospital where they found out that I was losing the baby, and realized it was a twin I was going to have. I lost those. That's when I found out that I'm positive. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. At the end of the last day I was in the hospital, a doctor come to me and said to me that if I know that I am positive. I said to them, no, nothing like that. They said, yes, you are HIV positive.
That was just the beginning of her traumatic journey as an HIV positive woman.
I feel so cold, I feel so dirty, I feel so messed up. I feel like somebody just took my heart and crushed it. All right, and when I called my mother, she said to me, she just looked at me, she just said to me that, guess what? Me tell you, if you left the boy a long time and you never hear, so anything you get, you take it.
Stacy said the man who infected her took her to court where he successfully won sole custody of their 2 children. She hasn't seen them for the past 4 years. However, 2 months ago, she found out that they too were HIV positive.
My daughter, she called me and she said to me that, Mom, I can't believe my eyes. My life just flashed in front of my eyes. And I said to her, why? And she said, Mom, I was at school and I took sick. And they carried me to the hospital because my nose started to bleed. And I find out that I am positive. I'm just 14, Mom, I'm just 14. And I started to cry and she was crying. I said to her that, I'm so sorry, but I didn't want this to happen to you guys.
She says now the children aren't receiving treatment or counseling because the family they live with wants to keep their HIV status a secret. Stacy points out that when she was pregnant with the 2 first children, she was forced to go to a private doctor and therefore was not given an HIV test. In 2004, Stacy says she became seriously ill and was left at the Kingston Public Hospital. After staying in the hospital for 6 weeks, she was released, but with nowhere to go, Stacy turned to her aunt, who reluctantly decided to take her in.
My aunt, she come and she get me, but when she come and get me, she went and she buy a cup and spoon and plate, and she said I must not touch her things them. She said I must not touch her things them. She said I can't sleep on her bed, I have to sleep on the floor. She put me on the floor to sleep. She have 3 beds in the house and she put me on the floor to sleep.
For gender consultant Dr. Glenda Sims, the HIV/AIDS crisis facing Jamaica is an urgent one, especially for women and young girls.
Now that we have seen the statistics that show that many young women are now the ones who are getting the disease, and young girls also, that's very frightening, and that productive part of the population are getting the virus, and they are going to be living longer, of course, because they might have the antiretroviral drugs. But the point is, what's going to happen to our development if the most productive sector is being infected with, HIV? And I'm very, very concerned by the profile of young women in the pandemic.
Dr. Sims theorizes that lifestyle changes among young women have put them at greater risk for contracting HIV.
We are looking at a lot of transactional sex. It's very interesting because they're using the term transactional sex. In other words, they're giving sex for something, some kind of security, maybe a BlackBerry, whatever. The point is, they're not, though, described as sex workers. Sex workers are a particular grouping, and they're at high risk.
This year, UNAIDS will be focusing on universal access to care and human rights, with an emphasis being placed on women and girls.
That Jamaica is on track in terms of achieving the major indicators toward the Millennium Development Goals. For example, Jamaica has almost the same level of coverage in antiretroviral treatment as the global coverage. Jamaica has achieved almost 80% coverage of prevention of mother-to-child transmission.
Many women living with HIV/AIDS have found comfort in the arms of Eve for Life. The organization started 2 years ago to target women and children infected and affected by HIV/AIDS. Eve for Life helps with psychosocial support, oftentimes stepping in to help children affected by the disease.
These are children who are infected as well as affected, and by affected I mean their parents are infected. And for the most part, these parents have been out of a job, sometimes out of their homes because of the suspicion, because the community really does not know the status, but because of the suspicion, it's thought to be, and they are discriminated against and stigmatized. And so Eve for Life picks up some of the slack.
They help me to build my confidence again. They help me to build my self-respect. It's just me. I did not love myself. I could not look at myself in the glass. I just feel dirty, I just feel worthless. And being here, it helped me. I can look at myself in the glass and say, I'm a pretty black girl. And nobody can take that away from me.